want to do something about getting problems that you have with joints sorted out fairly quickly. So let me just give you an example. I had somebody just this morning who texted me and said, can you tell me of a particular type of practitioner to sort out a problem with the foot? And I said, I don't know of this type of, I don't know anybody who would be of help to you. But what I thought was that I think the reason that this person has got a problem with the foot is actually nothing to do with the foot whatsoever. It's to do with the lie of the hip and maybe here the sacrum, and possibly that's reflected down via the knee and finished off in the ankle. So let me just show you what I mean. So uh, actually, we'll just use the other one. This is Oscar's half brother. It's a joke. I couldn't resist getting that one in. Here, this is your sacroiliac joint here. So here's your sacrum. This is your back. Okay. Here's your spines on the back. Okay. This is a bit of plastic there. So here is the sacroiliac joint. Now, so as some of you know, I go to the osteopath every 3 weeks, not because I need to, but just to get everything aligned correctly. And one of the things that always needs aligning on me, for some reason, is the way that the sacrum lies in relation to the pelvis, right? So your pelvis, this is the front of your pelvis here. You see this bit of plastic here. So this is, when you're born, this is not fused together. I think after about a year it fuses. It might even be less than a year. These two bones, they just fuse together. And so the front is fixed. But of course, I think this is cartilage that fixes it in the middle. So it's like the cartilage goes hard and makes it more solid at the front. But there is still pliability, and I can't move this one. But I should be able to twist it so that there is these joints, which here on either side, these joints still function. Now, what can happen is that when the joint becomes slightly twisted, and this is really common. I mean, it's really very, very, very common, and probably everybody here has experienced this on several occasions. What can happen is the joint becomes the one side of the pelvis moves very slightly. This joint, say, becomes more open, and this one becomes more closed. So there's a compression goes on. So the body therefore does all this compensation, and normally the compensation comes. So here's the side of the body. Here's the person's back, and here's their spine running up the middle. So here, around about this area here, we've got the lumbar area. So, or just the lower down here. So what happens is that the muscles which attach and come via the pelvis and attach to your legs below, what can happen is they become compromised very slightly. So you start to feel discomfort, and very often you might get a bit of sciatic pain, which goes down the back of your leg. And then you leave it, you don't do anything about it, and it goes, you start getting a bit of knee problems because your knees had to do a compensation because of the problem up here. So the knee has had to realign very slightly to make that slight compensation. Maybe the foot, the leg has even had to twist very slightly to make the compensation. Then that travels down next, if you do nothing about it, to the ankle. And therefore the foot then has to make a compensation. I've experienced this in myself, and I've talked to a number of osteopaths on many, many, many occasions, and it's one of these topics of conversation that comes up. It did on this Monday, which is what made me think of just mentioning it now. And because my pelvis was slightly out here, but because I'm going every 3 weeks, it kind of gets realigned and it sorts out. And then I do something stupid, like I trip or something, your foot goes over on a stone or on a curved stone, anything like that. These little things can make it go out of alignment. And so it's well worth bringing things back into alignment, simply because it can create problems later on elsewhere. So sometimes you can leave things, sometimes you can, but more often than not, it's actually, you can't, because the body does a compensation and you think, oh, I'm better. Great. Well, yeah, probably, you're possibly not, because the body's done this compensation, which means it's now out in two different places as opposed to one, because something else has had to compensate. And possibly, if my hip's gone like this, I've had to compensate with my knees in some form or other, but also my spine is now bent at a strange angle. I mean, we're talking big extremes here, but even those little things can, sometimes the compensation doesn't undo, sorry, especially if you then do something else. And incidentally, classic thing is you go to an osteopath and they make a correction, and what happens is you then have another small accident. You know, you trip on a paving stone because the body's gone, whoa, I'm not used to this new way of being, which is correct. I'm not used to it. So it now knows where to go. And when you do that second little trip, it probably recovers slightly quicker. But my point is, when you have something wrong, you've got a bit of sciatica, pain down the back of the leg, whatever it is, into the ankle, it's not necessarily the ankle that's the problem. It could be triggered ages ago from up here, maybe even from a childhood incident that you've never really sorted out. So I guess it's a plea for, if you do get some kind of a discomfort or a problem, it's well worth sorting these things out in advance, you know, and before it can travel anywhere else.